stop. Before you pay another giant heating bill, watch this. People across the country are quietly installing a $6 system in their walls, attics, and crawl spaces, and their energy bills are dropping by 30, 40, even 50%. Is it real? Is it a scam? Stick with me, because what I'm about to show you changes everything. Let me ask you something. Do you feel a cold draft sneaking through your walls in winter? Does your house feel like an oven in summer, no matter how high you crank the AC? And at the end of every month, does that energy bill make your stomach drop? You're not alone. Millions of homeowners are trapped in the same cycle. They blast the heat, they crank the AC, they pay the bill, and then they do it all over again. But here's what nobody's telling you. The problem isn't your heating system. The problem isn't your AC. The real problem is what's happening inside your walls, your attic, and your floors. Your home is leaking energy every single hour of every single day, and the insulation you already have, it's probably failing you worse than you think. We'll get to why in a minute, and trust me, it's going to make you angry. But first, let me tell you about the $6 system people are installing right now. Okay, so what exactly is this $6 system? It's called a reflective radiant barrier, and it's been around for decades. NASA actually developed it back in the 1960s to protect spacecraft from extreme heat in space. Yes, space. And somehow, this same technology has been quietly used by a small number of homeowners, especially in rural and Amish communities, to insulate their homes for almost nothing. Here's the basic idea. Your home loses heat in two main ways: conduction and radiation. Conduction is when heat moves through solid materials like your walls. Traditional insulation, like fiberglass, handles that. But radiation, that's when heat travels as invisible waves, through the air and through surfaces. Standard insulation does almost nothing to stop radiant heat. Nothing. That's why your attic becomes a furnace in July. That's why your floors feel like ice in January. Radiant heat is silently working against you 24 hours a day. And a $6 reflective barrier stops it almost completely. I know what you're thinking. Really? $6? Yes. Keep watching. Let me tell you something the big insulation companies don't want you to know. Fiberglass insulation, the pink fluffy stuff, has an R value. R value just means how well it resists heat flow through conduction. A higher number means better resistance. Your attic probably has insulation with an R30 or R38 rating. Sounds impressive, right? Here's the dirty secret. Over time, fiberglass insulation absorbs moisture. It settles and compresses. It gets contaminated with dust and debris. And when that happens, its R value drops significantly. The insulation you paid thousands of dollars for, it might be performing at half its original rating right now, and there's more. Even perfect fiberglass insulation does nothing, absolutely nothing, against radiant heat. In summer, your roof absorbs heat from the sun. That heat radiates down into your attic. That hot air pushes into your living spaces. Your AC fights it non-stop, burning money every single minute. In winter, the warm air inside your home radiates heat toward your cold walls and ceiling. That heat escapes, and your furnace runs and runs just to keep up. The insulation industry has been selling you an incomplete solution for decades, a solution that only stops half the problem. And you've been paying for it in your energy bill every single month. All right, let's talk about why this works, because the science is actually really simple. Every surface either absorbs heat or reflects heat. Dark surfaces absorb it. Reflective surfaces bounce it back. A radiant barrier is essentially a thin layer of highly reflective material, usually aluminum foil, laminated onto a substrate like craft paper or bubble wrap. When you install it in your attic, shiny side facing the open air space, something remarkable happens. Up to 97% of the radiant heat coming from your hot roof gets bounced right back. 97%. That means instead of that heat pouring into your living space, it gets rejected before it ever enters. In winter, the same principle works in reverse. The radiant barrier reflects the heat from inside your home back inward, keeping warmth where you need it. The result is a house that stays cooler in summer and warmer in winter, with almost no extra effort from your heating and cooling system. And here's the kicker. Unlike fiberglass, a radiant barrier doesn't degrade over time. It doesn't absorb moisture, it doesn't settle or compress. It just keeps reflecting year after year after year. That's why people call it a permanent fix. Now let me show you exactly what you need and how to install it. Here's the beautiful part. This is incredibly simple. For a basic attic installation, which covers the most important area, you need almost nothing. First, you need reflective insulation foil. And this is a double-sided aluminum foil, sometimes laminated to bubble wrap or craft paper. You can find it at any hardware store or online. A 500 square foot roll costs about $25 to $40, but you can get smaller starter rolls for under $10. For attic rafters specifically, you only need to cover the area between the rafters, so costs can easily come under $6 for a small section or crawl space. Second, you need a staple gun and staples. You probably already have one. If not, it's a $10 tool, forever. Third, scissors or a utility knife to cut the material. That's it. Seriously, no special training, no contractor, no permits in most cases. Just you, a roll of foil, and a Saturday morning. And by Sunday, your house is already performing better than it was yesterday. Now let me walk you through the installation step by step. Step 1, measure your space. Head up to your attic. Measure the distance between your roof rafters. Standard spacing is 16 inches or 24 inches, but always measure yours. Also measure the length of the rafters from the peak to the eaves. Write it all down. This tells you how much material to cut. Step 2, cut your panels. Roll out your reflective foil on a flat surface. Cut panels that are slightly wider than the space between your rafters, about half an inch wider on each side. This lets you tuck or fold the edges in for a snug fit. Don't stress about perfection here. This isn't surgery. Step 3, install with the shiny side down. This is critical, and a lot of people get this wrong. The shiny reflective side must face the open air gap below it. That air gap is what allows the heat to be reflected rather than conducted. Without that air gap, the barrier still works, but not as effectively. Staple the panel between the rafters with the shiny side facing down toward the attic floor. Pull it slightly taut, but don't stretch it too tight. Step 4, work your way across. Move from one end of the attic to the other, panel by panel. Overlap your panels by about 2 inches where they meet at the seams. If you want, you can use foil tape to seal the seams. That gives you even better performance. But even without tape, this system is highly effective. Step 5, don't cover vents. This is important. Your attic needs to breathe. Leave all ventilation openings, ridge vents, soffit vents, gable vents, completely uncovered. Blocking airflow creates moisture problems, and that's the last thing you want. Work around the vents. Cut panels to fit neatly alongside them. Step 6, seal any gaps. Once all your panels are up, look for gaps at the edges or around obstructions like pipes and wires. Cut small pieces of your foil to fill in those gaps. The more complete your coverage, the better your results. Step 7, add a second layer to critical areas. Optional. If you have a particularly hot or cold section, maybe above a bedroom that always feels extreme, add a second panel layer in those spots. Double coverage on problem areas makes a noticeable difference, and you're done. The whole attic can be done in a few hours. No mess, no professional, just a better performing home. Wait, the attic isn't the only place this works. Crawl spaces are a massive source of cold floors and energy loss in winter. Simply staple or lay reflective foil underneath your floor joists in the crawl space, shiny side up. It reflects heat back into your floor instead of letting it escape into the cold ground below. Cold floors are gone. Your feet will thank you. For walls in garages, sheds, or unfinished spaces, the process is the same. Staple reflective foil between the studs before you put up drywall or paneling. In already finished rooms, you can add a layer of reflective insulation behind outlet covers and switch plates. Those are hidden air gaps that lose more heat than you'd expect. Every layer you add is another step toward a permanently efficient home. Okay, let's talk about what actually happens after you install this. Homeowners who've installed reflective radiant barriers report real, measurable results. Studies from the Oak Ridge National Laboratory, an actual government research facility, found that radiant barriers can reduce cooling costs by 5 to 10% in moderate climates and up to 17% in hot southern climates. That's just the attic installation alone. Add crawl space coverage and air sealing, and many people report 25 to 40% reductions in their total energy bills. On a $200 monthly energy bill, that's $50 to $80 saved every single month. That's $600 to nearly $1,000 per year from a $6 roll of foil and a Saturday morning. Now here's the permanent part. And this is what makes the radiant barrier different from everything else. Fiberglass insulation lasts maybe 15 to 20 years before it degrades significantly. Spray foam can crack and shrink over time. But aluminum doesn't rot. It doesn't compress. It doesn't absorb moisture. A quality reflective barrier installed correctly today could still be performing at near full effectiveness 40 or 50 years from now. That's a one-time investment with a lifetime return. And unlike replacing old fiberglass, which can cost $500 to $5,000 for a full attic job, this entire system costs less than a fast food meal. Think about that. Now I want to address the elephant in the room. If this works so well, why don't big insulation companies push it? Think about it. The insulation industry makes money when you buy more insulation. They make money when your old insulation degrades and needs replacement. They make money on labor, on installation, on follow-up jobs. A $6 solution you install yourself in a morning? That doesn't make them anything. It's not that radiant barriers are hidden technology. Energy Star recommends them. The Department of Energy mentions them. It's just that nobody with a financial interest in selling you expensive insulation is going to walk up to your door and say, hey, there's a $6 fix that handles half your problem. That's just not how business works. But that's exactly what channels like this one are here for. No agenda, no sponsors, selling you insulation. Just real, honest, cheap solutions that actually work. Before I wrap up, a few quick tips that'll make your installation way more effective. Tip 1. Always leave an air gap. The shiny surface needs an airspace in front of it to reflect properly. If it's pressed flat against another surface with zero gap, it acts more like conduction insulation, which it does okay, but not great. Even a small half-inch gap makes a significant difference. Tip 2. Shiny side toward the heat source. In summer, heat comes from above, so shiny side faces down in the attic. In winter, heat inside the house tries to escape upward, so the same installation still works both ways. Tip 3. Don't confuse radiant barrier with bubble wrap insulation. Bubble wrap. Foil products add some conductive R value too, and they're great for walls and crawl spaces. But for attics, plain foil sheeting works perfectly and costs even less. Tip 4. Pair it with air sealing for maximum results. Grab a tube of caulk or expanding foam spray, seal gaps around pipes, electrical wires, and recessed light fixtures in your attic. Air sealing plus radiant barrier is a combination that can dramatically reduce your bills. Tip 5. Check your ventilation before you start. Make sure your attic vents are clear and working. Good ventilation prevents moisture buildup, which protects your roof structure and keeps your whole system working as intended. Follow these 5 tips, and your results will be significantly better than just slapping up foil and hoping for the best. Here's the bottom line. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to have a well-insulated home. You don't need a contractor. You don't need special skills. You need a roll of reflective foil, a staple gun, and a few hours. The $6 radiant barrier system is real. It's backed by science, used by smart homeowners for decades, and it can start reducing your energy bills immediately. Is it a magic cure that makes every problem disappear overnight? No. But as part of a smart, layered approach to home insulation, it absolutely delivers. And unlike almost everything else in home improvement, the savings last forever. One investment. A lifetime of lower bills. That's the whole idea behind this channel. Real fixes. Cheap solutions. Real results. If this video helped you, hit that like button right now. It only takes a second, and it helps this channel keep putting out videos like this one. Subscribe if you haven't already. We drop new money-saving home fixes every single week. And leave a comment below. Tell me where you're installing your radiant barrier first. Attic? Crawl space? Garage? Drop it down there. I read every comment. And if you know someone who's tired of giant energy bills, share this video with them. You might just save them hundreds of dollars this year. I'll see you in the next one.